Happy April, everyone. I thought this would be a good time to look back on my net worth for the end of March and share those details with you. This is the third episode of my reporting on YouTube, but actually I've been tracking my net worth since 2007. So it's not really new for me, even though I'm new to YouTube. And so it's actually my 160th month. I went and looked that up. So it's pretty amazing that it's been that long. And I guess that also reminds me that I'm a little bit older probably than most of you. So I am in my early 50s. I'm a guy that lives, in a sense, I get a paycheck to paycheck like the rest of you. I mean, I don't necessarily live paycheck to paycheck, but I don't have large bonuses. I don't have any type of commissions. I have a standard paycheck that I get like a lot of you do. I go to work 8 to 5. And this has kind of been my growth over the years on here. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So I want to get right to the numbers. So I don't want to be someone that's the very last slide where I'm going to give you the net worth. What I am going to do is break down some of these numbers in some preceding slides here in a second. But let's just look right at the details. My assets were close to 1.5. Liabilities 164,000 with a net worth of 1.3, and that grew ridiculously this last year. It's the largest growth I've ever had in my net worth of 140,000, or almost 12% over the preceding month. And you know, some of you might be looking at this and saying, I can't relate to this guy on YouTube. I don't have numbers anywhere near this amount, so I'm just going to click off of this. And that's fair. But one thing, when I talked about how I've been tracking my net worth for 14 years, I went back and looked at some of my own numbers from the past. And I was like many of you are right now. So in late 2007, when I started tracking my net worth, I had a high credit card debt of $40,000, and my net worth was about $140,000. You know, relatively, I don't make that much more now than I did back then. Sure, I make a little bit more, you know, cost of living, but my salary isn't that much more than it was 14 years ago. So what's really changed, how did I go from a net worth of 140,000 to 1.3, is I've just been very diligent in having goals, moving towards them. Sometimes I have some setbacks over, you know, a month, a year, what have you. But it's really about that. So it's not really, don't worry so much about that you're not where I am now. I was where you were, and you can get to these numbers as well and be an everyday millionaire. But so I hope you receive some little bit of inspiration from this, that you too can have some high numbers later on in life. But let's kind of get right into some other things here. What were some impact? What are some items that impacted my net worth in March? Well, first off, you know, if you've seen some of my previous videos, I do invest in cryptocurrency. I've been doing it for about 3-4 years now. And this past month, it had ridiculous appreciation. That it just grew through the roof. I'll do the exact numbers here in a second. I also went through an annual home revaluation. So this is where I live in a state where they do revalue homes every year for property tax purposes. And since that's the main source of revenue for my state, it can be high at times. They like to do that one, but I got my annual statement and I decided to use that as my new home evaluation for the year. So I'll show what that is here in a bit. So some downsides, my cash is down. I did actually buy a few things that I maybe shouldn't have, but I went out and bought a few things. And you know, this can sometimes be, I've been saving a lot over the last year, and this perhaps is one of those things. When you save too much, every once in a while you rebound and maybe spend too much. And I think that's what happened last month. So something I have to look out for, and you'll see how my cash is down here in a second. And also because of that, I was not able to add to my property tax sinking fund as promised. Like I said, I live in a state that property taxes are high. We don't have an income tax. So what I do is I create a sinking fund every year to pay off my property tax. I had planned to add a great deal of money to it in March. I didn't do it at all. In fact, I even took some from the sinking fund, so I wasn't very good in this aspect. Looking to turn that around in April. Let's look at the breakdown of my assets and liabilities and what changed over the last month. So my checking and savings, as I've already mentioned, I did have some personal expenses. So overall, my checking and savings was down about 9% to 39,000. The vast majority of this 39,000 is my emergency fund. I keep around an 8 to 9 month emergency fund. So a lot of this would be like my mortgage payment in case I had a financial emergency that required or perhaps had a loss of income. My retirement account did grow in March, but not by very much. It effectively grew by what I added to it. in my 401k contributions and a little bit of appreciation, but not enough to really count on here. The crazy part is really the cryptocurrency balance, which is Bitcoin and some other coins. It went up 38% in March. Wow. This is an area that I'm trying to not depend on this one because this market is so volatile. One area that I have started to, I guess, pivot in cryptocurrency is that I am looking for ways to make money off of my cryptocurrency. So there are banks now that are opening up that do pay interest on cryptocurrency and pay high interest, but there is a risk to it because they're not FDIC insured. So I do not put everything in there, but I decided I wanted to make a little bit of interest off of it. So I am testing the water, so to speak, in that one, but I would never put all of it in there because that's just way too dangerous. And then kind of what my assets are, I guess I call my physical assets, my home and my car. As I mentioned, my home has been revalued about 10% higher, so I am going to use that as a conservative number of what my home is valued now, and my car value stayed the same. So overall, total assets of 1.5 million or just a little bit south of that. Liabilities, this won't change very much in months. So for instance, my credit card balance is up a little bit, but I pay off my credit cards every month. It just happens to be that I ended the month of March with a credit card balance of $2,000, and my mortgage came down by, it's about $800 a month. This drops by, so total liabilities of 164. And you've already seen this number. So if you take assets minus liabilities, it's 1.33 million. And I've already shown this as well. It grew by 140,000 this month, or almost 12%, very high growth. What's really crazy when I compare it to what it was at the previous March. So last March, if we kind of turn back the clock, this is when COVID-19 was spooking investors, and the stock market and cryptocurrency were both down very heavily. So when I compare the 1.3 million to what it was at the end of the previous March, it's up by an astounding 66%. It's probably going to be a very unique month that I'm going to see something like that. I mean, it would be great if a year from now I see it go up by another 66%, but I don't expect that to be the norm. And most likely this might be the only time I ever see a valuation grow by that much over 1 year. High numbers. Anyway, I hope, as I said earlier, I'm not someone that's used to throwing around 1.3 or 1.5 million. I haven't been at this level most of my life, but it's something that all of us can achieve if you have a solid income and you have a good plan that you're executing to. So what about my overall goals for the month, or for the year actually? So I kind of break these down to two things. Solid, locked in. That means I'm going to do these no matter what, even if I have to sacrifice other areas of my life. And the other one is aspirational. So this is areas of where a goal that I want to achieve, but I may not going to. So these are kind of like stretch goals. So we'll see if I can get to these or not for the year. The main solid locked in goal I have is that I want to max out my 401k contributions for the year. So it's 19.5 that anyone that has a 401k in America can actually save into. And also, since I am 50 plus, I want to put an additional 6,500 that I'm allowed to save into the 401k. So I'm on target for this without a doubt. I haven't put this amount into it yet, but I'm doing this on every single paycheck. And also, I don't have another solid locked in goal. So maybe that'll be a goal for April that I will come up with another goal, because I think I need to put more goals than just having one locked in goal of 401k. So bouncing over to aspirational, I want to pivot more to a 401k Roth. And if you don't know, a 401k Roth or an IRA Roth would be where you are actually not getting a tax benefit from it today, but it can grow, and then you'll be able to withdraw from it without having to pay taxes at the withdrawal. Whereas a traditional 401k, you get the tax benefit today, but you are going to have to pay taxes on it later. So I am looking to pivot more of my current contributions to a 401k Roth, and I have been doing this. So what I do is every paycheck or two, I take a percentage point or two from my traditional contributions and I move it over to the 401k Roth. The difficult part of this is that because I'm losing that tax benefit today, my paycheck gets smaller and smaller every time I do this, and it's not quite so easy. Any 1 month, it's not that big of a deal, but when I look back, it's actually starting to, I guess, diminish my discretionary money that I have to spend. So I have to be careful with that one, that I don't want to see myself get into any sort of trouble with my spending. And other ones, aspirational, which I have not started yet. I want to start a non-retirement investment account. I also want to add to cryptocurrency. I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. I want to put about a half a Bitcoin. I want to buy about a half a Bitcoin to my, I guess, cryptocurrency portfolio. But it's getting very expensive. It would be right now about $30,000 to buy half of a Bitcoin. And I don't have $30,000 just sitting around like most of you. So we'll see if I can do this. But I still add a little bit to my cryptocurrency balance, just not quite at this level. I also want to start 2 sinking funds this year. So it's really where I want to be saving for a vacation and a new car. So the vacation, I want to save for that so that I don't have to worry about if I want to go on a nice vacation that I have to then cut into savings or savings that are meant for something else. So I really want to start doing a sinking account for that. And also for a new car, I've kind of promised myself that when I buy a new car, which hopefully isn't going to be for a couple years, I do not have to finance it. It's not going to be easy paying cash for a car, especially when I have zero saved up for it right now, but that is a goal of mine for the future on that. And now let's look ahead towards April. So April's a fun month for me in that it's a 3 paycheck month. I get paid bi-weekly, so normally I get paid every 2 weeks, but by doing it every 2 weeks, that equates to 26 paychecks a year. So there's 2 months every year where I get 3 paychecks. So it's actually, I think of the 2 paychecks as how I budget my life. So it's a bonus that I get this extra third paycheck. So I always really enjoy that. And if you work for a company that also pays biweekly, I'm sure that you know the feeling that it's a nice when you get the 3 paycheck month twice a year. And then also I want to continue my annual property tax sinking fund. Like I said earlier, I had planned to hit this heavy in March and I didn't do it. So April now has become that month that I'm going to hit it very heavy, and it helps to have 3 paychecks. I would love to be able to complete this in April, but I think realistically it's going to be May to do that one. So we'll see how that goes. So this is what I'm looking ahead towards this month. And finally, thank you. If you're still here, many of you have been just so supportive about my channel. So I just want to thank you so much for the positive feedback, the questions, comments. So thank you all very much. I enjoy doing this. I did not do many videos in March, but I plan to change that in April and get back into probably doing 3 or 4 videos, with this being the first one. So thank you very much, and it's been great being part of the personal finance community in YouTube, and I hope all of you have a fantastic April. Bye.